guys, welcome to Windsome Cottage Garden. My name is Hannah and I'm so glad that you decided to join me today. We are in the cottage garden and today we're doing something really exciting. We're going to be going through our dahlia tubers that we overwintered in storage, as well as some new ones, and getting them pre-started for the year. We'll kind of talk about the process as we go along, but my mom's going to be joining me for this. And this isn't necessarily us planting the dahlias out, because you don't want to do that till after your last frost, which is about a month and a half away up here. So what I like to do ahead of time to like jumpstart the dahlia production is put them in tubs, bury them so they can start developing their eyes. And then in a couple weeks, when they start poking through the soil, pull them out and put them in individual pots so they can continue growing on. So today we're going to be pulling them out. We have like 6 crates of dahlias. Not all of them are going to have survived the winter. I haven't honestly checked on them at all this winter like we should have, but they're super resilient, so I'm hoping they're okay. So let's kind of look at what we're working with and I'll talk you through the process a little bit more. So what we'll do is we have all these bins that we're going to fill with soil. Now this potting soil we'll be able to reuse later, so it's not being wasted. It's just more giving it a nice little home to wake up in. The first ones we're going to do are actually new ones my mom bought, but she was surprising me. I got to see what they looked like. And then what we'll do is walk through the different varieties and put the pictures on the screen, because I always love looking at those. And then we'll start going through the ones that we did this winter. Now I divided them for the most part before we stored them, so we won't need to do that. This will mostly just be putting soil in these, giving a scant layer at the bottom, nestling all the tubers in, making sure they're labeled. They're going to be super packed in here because this is not where they're living. This is just so that they can start waking up and developing eyes. And then at the very end, I will just sprinkle lightly water on top of this. Not even enough to make the whole thing damp, just a tiny bit. Because there's no water holes in these deliberately. And I don't want too much water so the tubers will rot. So Mom got creme de cognac, which is a water lily type that is really pretty. I'm excited about this one. Wait, no, where is it? Creme de cognac. Here it is.
God, I got too many of them is what I did.
You got 5 of them, and they get 18 inches wide and about 40 inches tall. And then we also have a collarette one called Fashion Monger, which was a really pretty like pink and red. I love collarettes. They're really pretty. And we have a Irish pinwheel, which is like orange and red. Pooh, which I've been meaning to buy. Pooh is yellow and red.
Yellow and orangey. Yep.
Yeah. And then there's a Onesta, which is a white decorative dahlia. Von Berlin, which is a ball dahlia. Oh, it might be Stoll's Von Berlin, which is a pink and purpley one. A single dahlia, which is called Flame, which is orange and red.
Look at me. I just bought
Princess
flowers.
Pink water lily. I think water lilies and collarettes are my 2 favorite, as well. I like decorative too. Here's a Great Silence, which is a really pretty one that was like a peachy color. David Howard, which is an orange and peachy colored one as well. Rosella, which is and the last one you got was a Nordwijks, Noordwijks, Nordwijks. Glory, which is yellow.
36 to 40 inches tall. That's a nice tall one.
And then what we're going to do too with these, because I don't believe these tubers themselves are labeled, is I have a garden marker. We're going to be writing directly on the tuber, at least one tuber in the clump, so that it's the easiest way to make sure we know what tuber's what, because sometimes labels get lost in this process, especially because they'll be popping out at different times. So we'll probably be pulling them out as we see them emerge, and that way we'll know exactly what we are pulling out. So I think we'll just speed through this process. Well, I have to admit, that was a little disappointing. I don't know if you could really see in the sped up version the new dahlias we got, which I don't know if I'll cut this, but my mom and I had said beforehand, we mentioned where we bought them and said, you know, we bought from them last year and we were really impressed with the quality of them, and we really were last year. This year, not so much. I would say they were good sized clumps. The thing that was really disappointing was in almost every clump, at least 60 to 70% of the necks of the tubers were broken, which we left them thinking, well, we're not losing anything. And usually there's one or two that had at least one tuber. And then there was 2 or 3 different dahlias we got that were entirely rotten. So we're going to be reaching out to them to see if they can at least compensate us for the rotten ones. We're going to tell them about the broken necks and say that we did try them, and we've put little flags in those, and we're going to track how many of them took and how many didn't. And if what I fear to be true is that my guess is we'll probably get about 40% of them to start. So that we're going to see if they can compensate us for that, which is a bummer. Like I said, we had a good experience last year with this vendor. And not quite the same this year, not to say the least. And some of the tubers were damaged too. Like they had chunks taken out of them, which I would have cut those if it was my tubers. The other thing that was a tiny bit disappointing was, as I expected, the tubers we stored were very dry, desiccated, if you will. So they still had some eyes. I think that they're probably just going to be slower because they've been desiccated before. We put them, almost all of them, in soil because it's surprising how much that they can take and will take. And we just have these crates out. I'm going to put just ever so slightly a sprinkle of water using a watering can in the top of these. And then we're going to actually put them in the basement here and jack the heat up to about 60, 65 degrees, which will give them the warmth they need. They don't need sunlight until they actually start putting up leaves. And at which point we'll pull them out, pot them up, and figure out how we're going to get light to them. That's going to be a challenge, not going to lie. Light is in short supply, but we'll figure something out. Let me quick show you how many we ended up with, and I'll show you about how much water I put in them. I just kind of go like this. I'll do a little bit more on the ones that have holes. We ran out of the trays that we usually use. These are the guys we normally do. We ran out of them. So this I've actually already sprinkled, but here's a great example of one that's closed, no holes, and I just kind of go like that. Just a little bit to give it a little bit of water. These are all going to go in the basement. My brother's going to do it for me because I have to go back to the city. But I'm excited to get these going. Here they all are. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 big crates that we actually stored them in. We stored them in pet shavings, which we're not going to do again. Really were too dry. So we're going to probably invest in a large amount of vermiculite to store them in the future, which will be easier for us to check and regulate. Because the pet shavings are good if you have a very damp environment and you struggle with rotting. We struggle with too much dryness. So vermiculite will be a way we can regulate that a little bit more. But we got the 4 big crates that we still just put soil in there. And I think I said at the beginning of this video, all the soil we'll be able to reuse in pots later because it's not really taking too much of the nutritional value away from it. It's enough that we'll be able to reuse this. And we have 4 gray totes and 2 black, which these are like the bottom of seeding trays. That we just put really small ones in. And I mean, I could have put a little bit more water in. I also could have pre-moistened this. But what's hard, especially with these type of trays, is it holds on to the moisture. This is enough to get it going. We'll be popping these in the basement and keeping a close eye on them. And as soon as they start showing signs of growth, pull them out, put them in a pot, and give them more water. I honestly don't think that all the plants, all the dahlias we saved are going to make it. Some of them were fairly desiccated. I meant to show you guys the process closer, but I'm always amazed by how well they do, even when they look desiccated. There were some that looked really good, and I'm sure there's some that are going to surprise me. So we'll just have to kind of wait and see. I suspect they'll take a little longer to get going since they are drier. But at the end of the day, we had more than one of most of the dahlia tubers we saved. And as long as one makes it, that'll be okay. We also have so many dahlias. Like, I mean, so many. Anyway, I hope this was of interest to you. We will check in on these in a couple of weeks, and I'll bring you along when we pot them up. We'll keep track of how many survive from the ones we bought as well as the ones we stored, both of which are going to have a slightly challenging year. Some of which is our fault, some of which is beyond our control. I promise myself each year I'm going to do better, and maybe with the vermiculite I will. I just got to find also a better place to store these. We don't really have a spot that's cold enough. Like, our garage is too cold and our basement's too warm. Maybe I'll just need to explore this new house, see what I can do. I have a crawl space. Maybe that'll work. Who knows? Anyway, I appreciate you joining me in this video. If you liked it, please make sure to hit that thumbs up button and subscribe. And I can't wait to see you next time. Bye-bye.